Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. Now today I'm doing another review because Titleist have just released new irons to the market. They are the new T-Series, and today I am reviewing the T100 and the T100S. That's right guys, Titleist have just released the T100 irons. I'm Lee Whittaker, I'm here at the Ashbury Golf Resort, and today I'm going to take you out onto the golf course and we're going to put the T100 and the T100S to the test out in the golf course. I'm also going to come back into the studio, we're going to talk about the tech of the clubs, and we're also going to look at some data and see what the difference is between the two irons. Now these have just been released. Titleist did have the T-Series before, the T100 and the T100S, which were a really popular iron. So are these two any better? Do they feel any better? Do they look any better? We're going to find out today in this review. So let's go out onto the golf course and let's hit some shots and see what these look, sound and feel like. Okay, so I've come out onto the back nine of the Pines course. I'm here on our 12th. I'm going to start with a T100. I've got a yellow ball and then I've got the yellow and blue divide ball as well. And what I'm looking for is to see the differences between the T100 and the T100S when it comes to yardage, but see if there's a consistency of yardage at the same time. So we'll start with the T100. And this is a par 5, but I'm just really testing here the consistency really when it comes to distance with this ball. That was a good strike, just straight at that tree really. Okay, so not a bad start, felt good off the face, that's all you can really ask for. So similar sort of line, maybe a little bit more right of that. Right, let's get the T100S out. Right, okay, so T100S, stronger loft. So it should, in theory, go a little bit further, but to look at, looks more or less the same to me. Can't see a lot of difference between them. That one's pretty straight as well. Not sure, looked like it went a little bit further. Right, last one with the 100S. Felt just as good as the T100. It's practically as a T100 with a stronger loft, isn't it? But is there any difference in yardage? That's a better hit. Yeah, that's definitely gone further. Right, let's get down there and see where these are finished up. Okay, so we come down to the fairway. Now, these two balls here that you can see are the T100. Really good consistent distance, so I'm really pleased with that. But if I now walk 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 16 yards further up the fairway, then there's the T100S, and then in the bush here, the red one, is the other T100S. So the good thing is that when it comes to consistency of yardage, both clubs are there, and with this test here, you can see the difference in the lofts, what the difference the lofts make. For me, between the two on that shot was 16 yards. Right, so I've come out onto the 17th here on the Pines course because it's a pretty long par 4. It's 430 yards from here. So I'm not going to get all the way there, but I'm just interested to see how big the gap will be on two shots between the two clubs. So I'm going to start with the T100S, slightly into the wind. Obviously it's never going to get there. Shaft I'm using, Project X 6.5. I'm swapping the heads out so it's the same shaft with each club. That's a pretty good strike and it's gone nice and high. It's gone nowhere though. Gone absolutely nowhere into the wind. Right, let's give it another go. How close can I get in two? So can I get halfway in two? Felt like a good strike, felt really nice off the face. Just ballooned up a little bit in the wind. So that one seems to have gone a little bit further out to the right. but not a lot of difference between them. What I will say is, off the face, the T100 just feels like my blades. It feels so soft, but you can tell with the sort of size of it, you've got a little bit more help than you have with the blade. Let's get the T100 on. Right, okay, so I put the T100 head on. Got the orange ball and then the yellow ball and the yellow and blue ball. Let's see how this performs. It's probably going to be shorter. Let's have a look. Good strike again. Went nice and high. Seems to have got a similar position as the T100S actually. Doesn't seem to be a lot of difference, but we'll check when we get down there. Right, one more go then, and then we'll go and check the distances out. Oh, that's a great strike. It's up the left hand side. To be fair, from the naked eye, they all seem to appear to have gone the same sort of distance, but there's only one way to find out. Let's go and have a look. Okay, interestingly, as we come up, so yellow and orange one here is the furthest one, but we're talking by not a lot. So that's the T100S. Over here is the other T100S, and there's actually probably about 5 yards between them. And then as we go over to the left-hand side, because I did hit these over to the left, we've actually got the T100 and then the blue one over here. These blue ones aren't easy to see, I'll give them that. They look cool, but they're not easy to see. Is here. So actually, if I stand at the shortest one, which is the T100, it's actually not the shortest. One of the T100Ss is short, then it's the orange and yellow T100S, and then it's the yellow T100. So between these four balls, I would say they're all almost identical distance. It was just a little bit strike dependent. And I found that into the wind, strangely, the T100S ballooned up a little bit more and lost distance over the T100. That could be spin related, but it doesn't make sense. So before I hit these second shots, let's go back into the studio, let's look at the tech, and let's look at the data and see what the dry ball data says the difference between these two clubs is. Okay, so what are Titleist saying about the new T100 iron? Well, they're saying that it's got improved feel, improved turf interaction, exceptional forgiveness in a tour iron and tour preferred locks. It features D18 density tungsten, a new tour contoured sole and brushed chrome finish. By utilising denser D18 tungsten weights and a 2000 Fahrenheit brazing process used in aerospace construction, our engineers were able to eliminate weld points and be even more precise with CG placement. Paired with a fully forged dual cavity T100 construction, you get modern engineered performance with a solid forged feel. So what they're saying is the tungsten in these irons is a lot denser, therefore it's a little bit heavier, so they can manipulate CG around the head in order to aid ball speed and launch and all those good things that we're looking for. Lofts, when it comes to the T100, well, the T100 is very traditional at 34 degrees of loft, which is probably quite weak compared to some of the other brands where that sort of go around 33. And then the T100S is 32 degrees of loft. So it's just giving you a little bit of extra distance, but having the T100 feel. And I think the benefit of having it designed like that is that the bounce of the club will be how you want it to be. If you had a 34 degrees and bent it 2 degrees, then you're affecting the bounce of the club. But by having a 32 degree option or a stronger lofted option, it means the bounce of the club is as it should be, and therefore you're benefiting from the full sole as opposed to bending the club and changing effectively what Titleist have designed it to do. Okay, as we look at the data now, the T100 and the T100S are the opposite. Okay, so the red is T100S, the yellow is T100. I didn't label them correctly. So ball speed off the T100S, 123.4 miles an hour with quite a good deviation of 2. T100, 118 miles an hour, or 119 if you round it up, with a deviation of just near 3. So actually, you can see the difference the loft is making. Interestingly though, the launch angle for me is lower with the T100 than it is with the T100S. It's just the way I swing the club, I can't control that. Spin rates, almost identical, standard deviation 100 in it, there's next to nothing in it. So here is everything I'd like to see. Launch angle, I would have expected the T100S to be lower, but it isn't. Average carry 177 for the T100S, 168 for the T100, and actually if I look at it, it's bang in the middle of where I'd expect it to be. It's perfectly where I'd expect it to be. My golf clubs are 33 degrees, they average 173 yards, so the 32 is 177, the 34 is 168. It is exactly where I'd want a 7-iron to be on both counts, and actually I could use either or depending on what I want really, because the launch and the spin are almost the same. So it's, to me, it would be about gapping. Where does it fit within my gapping when it comes to like my wedges and my hybrids and things like that? That's the option you've got with the T100 now, having that 2-degree difference. Looking at dispersion then, pretty similar shot shape, and as expected, the T100S is just going that little bit further. Standard deviation on carries 4 yards with the T100, 5 yards with the T100S. There's next to nothing in these irons except for those 2 degrees of loft because it's the same iron. So apart from loft, the actual only real difference is the T100S has what's called a muscle channel. It's like a little channel that's just designed to give you a little bit more ball speed and a little bit more distance. But other than that, they are practically the same iron. Right, so I've got the T100 in the head. I'm just going to move that around so you can actually see the yellow bit of the ball, because the blue bit you can't see. And let's see what the approach shot is. Now I am miles away here. I'm getting nowhere near this green. I'm probably about 230 yards out, if not further. Yeah, I'm definitely further away from the green than I am from the tee. But let's give it a go anyway. So aim up to the right, see if we can draw it back in. Come on, keep coming round. It's a good strike. But it's probably another one of them back onto the green. Yeah, what I will say is the feel off the face is superb. It feels just as good as any blade I've hit. It feels just as good as the T100s I hit last time, except I think these look a little bit better than the T100 last time. It definitely gives you that, when you hit it out the middle, that soft, like I've hit this well feeling. That's what you want from a club like this and a blade and things like that. Except the difference between this and a blade is it's obviously got a little bit, I'm talking a little bit more help within the face than what a blade's got. I'm actually quite impressed. Okay, T100 again, slightly uphill lie or ball above my feet. Just aim a little bit straighter because it doesn't seem to be drawing as much as I'd like it to. That's a good shot. And that one is drawing over to the left hand side. It looks to be a pretty similar distance actually to the last one, seeing as these balls were quite close together. If that's sort of a similar distance, then it's just showing that consistency. Okay, on to T100S. Now the sound off both of these is actually really, really good. It just sounds soft. There's no click, there's no loudness about it. It just feels like a soft forged iron. Who can I see these appealing to? Definitely, I think the T100 is going to appeal to your low single figure handicaps and your professionals. Whereas I think the T100S will be for your early double figures, maybe sort of up to 15 handicap possibly, because it just gives you a little bit more distance. But I definitely think the T100 will be for your low single figures who just want a little bit more control over that distance. Right, T100S then, see if we can get 2 more good shots away. That's another good shot. Straight down the middle of the fairway. Probably a similar distance actually, similar distance to the first ones. On this hole I'm not really seeing with my naked eye a lot of distance, a lot of difference between the distances. Okay, last one with the T100S then. Now I know it's all strike dependent, but I feel like those 3 I've struck pretty similarly. The feel off the face felt the same. I didn't feel like I've hit anyone fatter than the other one. They all felt like decent strikes. Right, last one with the T100S. See how close we can get. I've just left that out to the right, unfortunately. But it'll be there for distance. And actually, I felt like I hit that one a little bit heavier. So it'll be interesting to see if there's a drop off from the first one or whether they're a similar distance, because the first one was slightly behind this one, but let's get up there and see where they've finished up. So it won't be a Lee review if we didn't have a ball in the tree, and that was the last one. Hit it a little bit heavy, but distance wise, if I look across the fairway, it's actually bang in line with the other T100S shot that I hit. So the drop off is there, because it was probably about 5 yards in front of the other one. So there would have been there's a 5 yard drop off. So there's the other T100S here in the middle of the fairway, but the T100s are ahead of it. So I've got one there, and then I've got one just over in the distance. Let's go and take a look. This is the furthest one here, which was a yellow ball. This is just on the left hand side, and actually it's given me probably about 80 yards left to the flag. So in total, the T100 has probably carried me about 350 yards in 2 shots. T100S is probably 10 yards behind that, which is surprising considering the difference in the stronger lofts. Now, it might be that the T100 just suits my eye better, so I'm striking it better, but I feel like apart from that last one, which I caught a little bit heavy, I've hit the first 3 pretty similarly, and the T100S is actually behind the T100. Okay, final shot. I've come on to the 13th here on the Pines course. From this tee, it's 178 yards. It's slightly downwind. It's not all of this club, I don't feel, from this tee, but I just want to see how the balls stop on the green between the two. So T100 to start with. That's a good shot. It seems to stop pretty well. Just feels, these clubs feel superb. Like, I've just moved into blades, and these are just as good as it when it comes to feel out the middle. But over blades, you're just getting a little bit more help. All right, last one with the T100. It's another good shot. Oh, and that stopped really quickly. Right, so let's see what the T100S does. Okay, T100S, I'm not sure I used the right balls there. So the yellow and blue for this shot is a T100S, and the yellow and red. I think I used yellow and orange. Can't be 100%, but I know which ball is which. Right, so T100S. Is this going to travel any further, or do I have to hit it a little bit softer to get the similar yardage? Okay, just slightly pulled that one. Yeah, just pulled it a little bit. So that's going to be left side of the green. But feels like it went a similar yardage. Feels the same. Really difficult to tell the difference between the two. Right, last one, T100S. That's just coming round onto the right side of the green. I actually think there's not, as difficult as it, as silly as it sounds, out here, apart from that very first tee shot, I'm really struggling to see a difference when it comes to yardage. I just feel like the T100 goes a little bit higher. Because of that, it's just traveling a little bit further. But actually, I can't see any difference whatsoever with yardages, but let's go and find out. However, when you get to the green, looks can be deceiving. So T100S, right side of the green at the back. T100S, left side of the green at the back. But the T100, for me, I just feel like I've got more control over. I don't know if it's that extra loft. I can't put my finger on it, but I feel like I've got more control over the T100 than I have the T100S. And that's where they both finished. First one pitched here, span left, because it came in with draw spin. Second one here, pitched and span back. And they are like a yard away from each other. I think the takeaway is that the T100S is definitely going further. It's just so strike dependent. But on that, off a nice clean tee with similar strikes, the T100, that dispersion and control is what wins it for me over the T100S. The T100S for me is a little bit wilder than the T100. But like I said on the previous tee, there's definitely a market for both. I think the lower single figure handicappers, your pros and all that kind of stuff will want the control that the T100 gives them. The feel is superb. It sounds like a soft forged iron, and the results speak for themselves. And I think the T100S, sound and feel wise, are identical. You know, it's the same club, it's just a stronger loft basically. But for me, because of that extra stronger loft, I'm losing a little bit of control over them. And because of that, on this green, I felt like I hit 4 very similar shots. It's just that one I overturned a little bit, so it went left. The other one, I started out right, but it just sort of stayed there, whereas the T100 did everything I wanted it to do. And I think I'm going to leave that review there. T100 as a club by itself, absolutely superb. And I love the fact that you've got 2 options with it. You've got the traditional loft, and you've got the stronger loft. And because of that, it kind of looks for 2 different markets. One being your scratch to low single figure, the other like possibly high single figure into early teens kind of level. Someone wants to progress a little bit away from, say, T200 or P790 or ZX5, something like that, going into the T100 but having that S, that extra bit of yardage, is actually superb when it comes to a fitter's point of view and for a customer's point of view. The T100S gets great peak height. It's not like it's coming in super low compared to the T100. I can probably see the T100 a slight bit higher, but like it's barely noticeable from the naked eye when you're looking down a hole. There's just not a lot to separate them, except for me, a bit of yardage and a bit of control, and that's why for me I would have the T100 over the T100S. I hope you've liked that review, and if you have, please do give this video a thumbs up down below. Please do comment down below which do you prefer, T100, T100S. Are you in the old T100 and looking to change into the new T100, and what are your reasons for doing that? Also, if you're new here or you are returning and you're not yet subscribed, please do click that subscribe button down below, and do click that notification bell so you are notified of any future videos that I put out. For the time being, I'm going to repair my pitch marks, and I'm going to see you all on the next video.